Okay, so in the last video, we discussed the theory and the setup and the motivation for doing cross-validation. And in this particular video, we'll see an R implementation of cross-validation. So the goal is to choose lambda in ridge regression using leave one out cross-validation. We'll also do k-fold cross-validation later on downstairs in the code. The data set we're focusing on is the empty cars data. And what is the empty cars data? So you can go to the console in R and do empty empty cars, and the help page will show up. And we've looked at this before. This is the motor trend car road tests. So the data was extracted from the 1974 Motor Trend US magazine and comprises fuel consumption and 10 aspects of automobile design and performance for 32 automobiles. So there are 32 automobiles, and it basically has 32 observations and 11 variables, where the variables are, miles per gallon, number of cylinders, displacement, and so on. And the response, or what we're measuring, is miles per gallon. What is the mileage that a particular car gives, and what is its dependence on the other data that has been collected? So the other 10 variables. Okay. So what we do is we load the data using data mcars, and y is the empty cars $MPG. That's my response. And I also want to add an intercept in my X covariance, sorry, not covariance, X matrix. So I add an intercept by using cbind1, comma, the rest of the data set empty cars except the response, which is the first column. I combine that together. So just to see what this looks like, I can do, head of X on the console, and I see, okay, these are the first 6 observations, and, these are all the various columns, but the first is ones, okay? And now N is my number of observations. N turns out to be 32, that is correct. P is my number of covariates. Now P is 10 if I use no intercept, but because I'm using an intercept, P is 11. Now what I want to do is I want to do ridge regression by regressing, by fitting the model. Model we want to fit is y equals x beta plus epsilon, where now beta I want to calculate using ridge regression for a given lambda. Okay. Now, ridge regression, recall, beta underscore ridge has a closed form expression. And that closed form expression of beta underscore ridge is x transpose x plus lambda times IP inverse x transpose y, right? And if you don't recall this, go back a few weeks and you can see exactly where we did this. So there's a closed form expression for beta ridge, which means that actually calculating this is relatively cheap in the sense that we can go in and calculate this estimate fairly quickly without any iterative procedures, okay? But now the question is, how do we choose our lambda in ridge regression, right? That's a choice we have to make, and we want to know which lambda is the best lambda. So what I do here is I create a vector of lambdas going as small as 10 to the power minus 8 to as large as 10 to the power 8. Okay, so lam.vec is 10 to the power minus 8 to 10 to the power 8, where I increment this by 0.1. Okay. So then if I look at lam.vec, it has 161 observations starting as small as 10 to the power minus 8 and then making small increments going up to 10 to the power 8. Okay, in exponent increments of 0.1. Okay, so I'm choosing lambda values that are really tiny to really, really large, and we'll see which value of lambda gives me the best prediction error or test error. Okay, I will store the CV error in CV error, which is going to be a numeric vector. I'm going to be implementing leave one out cross validation, but I will get a CV error estimate of the test error for every model I fit. And the number of models I fit are going to be the number of lambdas I'm considering. Okay, and just to indicate, my loss function chosen is the squared error loss. Okay, so for each lambda, we'll do ridge regression. So for L in 1 through the length of lambda.vec, I do the following things in the loop. I want to track my cross-validation estimate. So I do a track.cv equal to 0. And then the value of chosen lambda in a particular loop L is lam.vec at position L. Then for I in 1 through n, I want to do the following things. Where in leave one out cross-validation, recall that I have my observation, my data set, and every single time for every single observation, I am going to take that observation out, fit my data on the rest of the observations, get my estimate of beta, right? And then use this beta on this observation to see what the difference between y and my predicted value is, right? So I create my x.train and y.train, which is the observation in x after removing the ith row, and the observation in y after removing the ith element of y. And then I fit the model on the training data. So that means I obtain beta.train, which is x transpose x plus lambda times IP, solve, so the inverse of this, times x transpose y, where y now, again, is, y dot train. So all the x's are the training x's and all the y's are the corresponding training y's. But then while I'm doing this in the loop, I know I've extracted the ith observation, but as soon as I get the beta dot train, I have f hat. As soon as I have f hat, I can use the f hat to get my prediction error or my loss, which is y minus xi transpose beta, which is this over here, right? And the squared value of this. So track.cv is equal to track.cv plus this. So what track.cv does, this will calculate the running sums of the cross-validation error. And at the end, I just want to take an average, taking the average. And so I divide by n. And that becomes the estimated CV error or test error for the nth value of lambda, which is chosen over here. Right? So I hope that makes sense. And what I can do now is I can run all of this once again. So that's going to take some time, but that's done. So that was fairly quick. It took some time, maybe a second, but it was done. And now what do I do? If I look at, head of CV.error, then this tells me what is the cross-validation error for the first few values of lambda. For the first 6 values of lambda, which are very small values, it tells me the cross-validation error. I can do, the first 20 values, and I can see, that slowly the CV error is in fact reducing a bit, but very slowly, right? I can do 0.30, and again, it's reducing a bit, but very slowly. But to find where the value is actually minimum, I don't actually need to look at all the values. I can do the following thing here. I can say, well, find which dot min CV error, as in which index of CV error gives me the minimum value. And if I just run that line of code, then it says the index of min, which is the CV, which gives the lowest CV error, is the 88th index. Okay. And the 88th index, I can just go to lam.vec's 88th index, and that value is my chosen value of lambda because that gives me the smallest error. So the chosen value of lambda is 5.01. And if I just see, what is the minimum value of CV.error, that's going to tell me the value of the test error, estimated test error, corresponding to this value of lambda. And that was 8.28. So if we had chosen a value of lambda that's very small, I would have gotten test error 12.18, which is much higher than test error 8.28. 8.28 was the smallest test error. Okay. And the value of lambda that gives the smallest test error is roughly 5. Okay. And then remember, Once I've chosen my best model, in this case, the best model is the one that gave me lambda equals 5, right? Or 5 or 5.01. Once I have that, I go fit again on the whole data set. So the final value of beta is full data set X transpose X plus chosen lambda times diagonal times X transpose Y. And then I print in the final value of beta. And so these are my final estimates of beta that I finally get using ridge regression. So these are still the ridge regression estimates. The only thing I've done is I've asked myself, well, which value of lambda do I want? And that we've done using cross-validation. Okay. Now, this was done using leave one out cross-validation. What happens if I use k-fold cross-validation? So how do I do k-fold cross-validation? So what I do to implement k-fold cross-validation in this same data set is I'll do the following. I will create a permutation of the sample 1 through n without replacement. So if I do sample 1 through n, what it does, and if I do permutation, it just creates a random permutation, right? So it just jumbles up all the rows. And the reason I'm doing this is that it's possible that the rows are all organized in some particular way. And if I'm going to create folds, I want to make sure that the folds I create are sort of random, right? Randomly chosen. So what I do is I jumble up the rows, right? And now I set the number of folds I want is 5. So k is equal to 5. Now we can change this to k equals 10 or k equals 3 or 4. I'm just fixing it to be 5. That's a choice we can make. And then what I do is use the split function. So I use the split function to split the vector permutation according to the index indicated by this vector. So this vector, rep 1 through k, length equals n, each equals n by k, basically fills in numbers 1 through k, so 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, and so on, so that each number is repeated n by k times. So that means what I'm essentially going to now do is take the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers of permutation and give it to fold 1. And then the next approximately 6 numbers, I'm going to give to fold 2. And then so on and so forth. And then there's few more left over. And the last 2, I'm going to again to give to fold 1. So I'll do 6, 6, 6 even splits. And then because 32 is not divisible by 6, there's 2 more left. And those I can't do anything, so I just give it to the first fold. Okay. So I do that split. So if I look at test.index, then test.index is a list. It's a list whose first element of the list is, again, all the observations in the first fold, all the indices of all the observations in the second fold as a second component of the list, the indices of all the observations in the third fold, and so on. Now I can just subset using these indices. So for L in 1 through length of the lambda, so I'm going to repeat this for every value of lambda again. I again set the track CV to be equal to 0, and then again set the value of lambda. But now instead of going from 1 to n, I only need to fit the model k times, right? Because each fold's fit is the same. So then what I do is for each I going from 1 through k, I say, okay, what are my training indices? So it goes to the ith fold. So let's say for the first fold, you go to these observations, and it's going to pick up the indices of all my training, well, actually, these are test indices. So I should call them test indices. So this is 16, 17, 25, 32, 29, 24, 8. Maybe I'll do it right now. So this is test.ind. This is test.ind. This is test.ind. So it's always good to use informative and correctly informed names. And I guess I ignored the name that I was using. So the indices I will test on are going to be these indices when I is equal to 1. So it goes and picks up these indices. And to make my training data, it removes the indices from X and those from Y. and that gives me x dot train, y dot train. Then again, it's the same exact command to fit the beta trained. And then for track.cv, well, it turns out now there's no longer one observation in my test index, right? There's multiple observations. So I do y at test index minus x at test index transpose beta dot train squared. But now these are a bunch of numbers and I want to make sure I average all of these. So first I'm just going to sum them and keep a track of these sums. Once this loop is done, I'll just divide by n. Okay. So when I run all of that, I get, now see, it didn't take time at all because in the previous setup, it had to do the whole calculation 32 different times for each model. Now it only needs to fit 5 different models, not 32. So it took almost no time. And the smallest value of lambda I got was again 5.018. So it was exactly the same value of lambda. So that's pretty good. I'm surprised by that. But the thing is, because these permutations are random, that every time I do it, I can get a potentially different lambda, right? And this is also because this is a relatively small amount of data. So if you're doing small data sets, then it's probably better to leave one out because you can afford to leave one out. So see, every time I'm doing this, I'm getting a different value of lambda, and that's okay. There will be some variability. But you can see that these are all around the order of 1 to 5. They're not 10 to the power 8, right? So it's clear that that's not a very good value of lambda. But, between 1 to 5, things don't make that much difference. But then again, finally, we fit on the whole data set. And this becomes my final particular observation, estimation for beta. So this, in a logistic regression problem, we'll do something similar where again we'll split the data in exactly these ways. But now only the training part will require one particular function that does the implementation that calculates the beta in logistic regression on the trained data set. And then this part of what the test error is changes because then we might be using misclassification error. Right? So you're going to have to figure out how to do misclassification error. And at this point in the course, we've been dealing with R for so long, I trust that these are things that now you're comfortable in doing. Okay, so that was cross-validation. Cross-validation is a very powerful tool and very, very common in a lot of statistics and machine learning, and actually choosing the correct values of various tuning parameters. So it's one of those very important algorithms to be able to understand and use in a way that we truly do understand it.